Good afternoon, everyone. We're Group 13, and today we are excited to share our topic, a policy study on the optimal pension rate in China. In this presentation, we will cover the following 5 parts, as shown on this page. Starting with introduction, challenges facing China's pension system. China is entering a rapidly aging society with the world's largest elderly population. Its pension system is under great pressure, with a narrowing gap between the workforce and retirees, along with the increasing healthcare cost issues. From this figure, we could observe the proportion changes in workforce demographic, with growing elderly population in the future. Then let's simply explain the concept of 3 pillars of the pension system. In short, they are public pensions, enterprise annuities, and personal savings. Next, the optimal pension contribution rate. China introduced the enterprise and occupational annuities under Pillar 2, including contributions from both employers and employees. The enterprise pension contribution rate was cut from the previous 20% into 16% of total wage. In addition, for areas like Guangdong and Jiangsu, where rates were usually around 14%, this change actually means an increase. Compared to the OECD-rich countries, such as the United States and South Korea, the current rate 16% remains high, indicating the potential for further reduction. Also, the high rate continues to impose significant labor costs on firms and disincentive investments. Given those challenges, it's essential to evaluate and identify the optimal contribution rate to lighten economic pressure and reduce the social burden of elderly care in China. So in the following parts, we will explain the discrepancy of pension contribution rate and our empirical framework. During the optimal identification process for in-migration areas, we found a unique pattern, different from the usual correlation, and will give some targeted suggestions.
Over the past decade, China has grappled with discrepancy between actual and policy rates. Alarmingly, a 2012 audit reviewed billions of yuan on collective premiums, with a considerable portion linked to old age insurance. This underscores the pressing need to tackle the issue of unrealized state contribution within our pension insurance system. In the following analysis, we will explain 2 reasons to explain their roles in contributing to prevalence of inaccurate pension insurance rates in China. Firstly, widespread social pension invention poses a formidable difficulties. On one hand, many enterprises and workers lack a full understanding of basic pension insurance policy, and enterprises are not very conscious of their contributions. At the same time, some low-income workers may prefer to accept arrangements where enterprises contribute less or do not participate in insurance schemes, especially when higher social insurance contributions limit current consumption and interperiodic consumptions. On the other hand, in China being a labor-intensive country, the unequal position between some enterprises and their workers is exploited. To achieve a contribution invention goes through long-term hiring of short-term workers or part-time workers, or failure to sign labor contracts with workers. Secondly, from a data computation perspective, academic studies often substitute average wage for actual wage, resulting in discrepancy between the estimate and the actual situation, where scholars may use different methods to calculate averages, such as trimmed means or factoring in price inflation. Moreover, different provincial and municipal regulations governing pension insurance polling vary considerably, and the pension reform process varies, with a lag in actual implementation across regions. From a holistic perspective, physical subsidies embedded with certain datasets may be augmenting to pension insurance fund revenues, leading to inflating reported insurance fund incomes.
So let's think about that. If there is a significant correlation between the policy rates and actual rates, then we can increase the actual rates by adjusting the policy rate to the optimal value. Now we use real-life data of 18 provinces from 2018 to 2023 to study the new reform period when China reduced its policy rates, which is one of our innovations. First, we assume a polynomial nonlinear model. Y is the actual rates, and X, it can be the policy rate itself, or the quadratic or the cubic of the policy rates, and the coefficient beta 1 of X is our most interesting number, And our original hypothesis assumes that the beta 1 equals to 0. The next is the control variable, C. It contains the logarithm of the average wage, the aging degree, the proportion of state-owned economy, and service sector. So, how did the regression turn out? Let's look at the table on the left, where a number with 1 asterisk means that the probability of beta 1 equals 0 is less than 10%, and we should reject the hypothesis. So we can see that the correlation between the cubic of the policy rates and the actual rates is not as significant from the fourth column, while there is a 90% significant nonlinear relationship between the policy rates and its quadratic on the actual rates from the second column. So it means that there is an inverted U-shaped curve we can see in the right-hand side picture between the actual data and the policy rates. The actual contribution rates grows rapidly with the increase of the policy rates and then decreases. And we can find the optimal policy rates may lie in 19% to 21%, and it implies that an excessively high policy contribution rate may inhibit the actual effects of enterprises.
And the next part is political inspirations. The empirical regression results have shown the existence of the optimal policy payment rate, after which the actual payment rate will significantly decrease. Although enterprises cannot change their original contribution ratios, the probability of enterprise participation in pensions is significantly reduced. Enterprises mainly achieve these goals in two ways. On the one hand, due to government regulations requiring companies to pay pensions for contract employees who have been hired for more than 30 days, companies choose to increase temporary workers, reduce contract workers, or frequently use short-term contract workers. On the other hand, companies reduce the provision of pension funds by implicitly reducing the number of total wages. The second reason is that companies have the motivation to return to the optimal marginal substitution rate. As the cost of human capital increases, companies choose to increase capital investment. The third reason is that companies may face a reduction in scale due to cost pressures.
So, as we discussed, different behaviors have an impact on the actual contribution rates, but the population structure of a region, such as the aging degree and the population inflow, may also affect the actual contributors and the actual rates. In our regression of 10 provinces with net population inflow, we are surprised to find that there is a special fitting relationship, unlike previous paper, which is also one of our innovations. From the table, we can see that the policy contribution rates and its quadratic and cubic all have a significant nonlinear relationship on the actual rates in 95%, and which can be fitted as a cubic function curve in the picture with 2 inflection points of the actual rates. So we come to a new conclusion that when the policy rates reduce to a certain level, the actual contribution rate instead shows an unexpectedly upward trend. That is interesting.
And the future exploration between policy and actual pension rate is as follows. The regression results indicate that businesses and individuals are more sensitive to change in policy payment rates, and further reducing policy payment rates may lead to higher actual payment rates. In addition, the degree of aging significantly affects the true contribution rate of enterprises. The degree of aging is redistributed between different regions through population migration. The pressure of young people moving towards coastal or urban areas is leading to a hollowing out of the labor force in inland. Furthermore, the increase in the elderly dependency ratio caused by population migration has increased local financial pressure and corporate costs. On the other hand, Chinese enterprises adopt a defined benefit system to pay for their pensions, and the pension insurance premiums paid by young migrant workers are used to pay for the current pension insurance benefits of retired elderly people in the region. The inflow area receive more pension insurance funds compared to the outflow areas. And based on all the analysis, we mainly consider the following 3 suggestions. First of all, the Chinese government should gradually implement mandatory policies and transfer penalty insurance from expense matters to mandatory tax categories. Secondly, the Chinese government should adopt tiered pension payment ratio policies to balance inter-province fund income. Thirdly, the Chinese government should set the minimum number of people covered by pension insurance. That's all. Thank you.